So fair to say, the last 2 years for Everton have not gone to plan.
This Everton team, as it is right now, will be relegated. This team is absolutely dreadful.
We're fucked. We are absolutely fucked. We are so fucking shit. It's unbelievable.
Tonight really showed me that this entire team is absolutely garbage, by the way. Even if we go down this season, that defence will drag us into League One because all of them are fucking woeful.
When you grew up in the David Moyes era, hell, even the Martinez era, you know, at least you know they'd fight for you. Even though they might not be the best players, they'd fight for you, they'd give you 110%. This is not the team I associate with.
With a gang of footballers who can't play football.
That is it. We are done. We are absolutely fucking shit.
But they don't give a fuck. All they care about, every one of them, is making a coin. That's all they give a shit about.
Not having a go with people, I'm not being personal, I'm just being honest. This Everton team will be relegated as it is right now.
Everton Football Club, you know who they are. A Premier League staple since the beginning of the Premier League back in 1992. Our team since the dawn of time has always been between 5th and 10th. They've always been that team challenging to get into the Europa League or the Champions League qualifications. And it may sound even more incredible when I say that they spent Christmas in the top 4 only 2 years ago. On the 26th of December 2020, Everton beat Sheffield United 1-0 at Bramall Lane, making them second in the Premier League. So what has changed so dramatically to make Everton a top 4 team 2 seasons ago to now being in back-to-back relegation fights? Fair to say last year for Everton, there were signs that this could be a repetitive occurrence. Cheapest and most reliable coins on FIFA 23, then go down below to use them and buy. Top link in description, and make sure to use code Vizeh for 5% off. Now of course I can go into this and this could be a 30-minute long video, 40-minute long video, but in reality it really shouldn't, because the answer of why Everton has been in such a decline is simply put to one man and one man only, and that is Farhad Moshiri. Farhad Moshiri is the owner of Everton Football Club, but the problem is something that may quite confuse you, because with most ownerships the main problem is the fact that they don't put enough money into the club, but with Moshiri it's quite the opposite. Since buying the club from Bill Kenwright in February 2016, Moshiri has spent in those 6 seasons since 2016 a staggering £561.8 million. That is an average of £93.5 million per season. So how can a team spend £500 million in only 6 years and get worse? That is the main question from every Evertonian since he first joined. Well, we need to look into the finer details, into who did he bring in the first window, 16-17, and they had a certain man by the name of John Stones, who was sold for around £49 million, who brought in a nice chunk of change for Moshiri. With that money that season, he brought in around 8 players by the name of Yannick Bolasie, Schneiderlin, Ashley Williams, Luckman, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Calvert-Lewin and Stecklenburg, spending around 76 million on average, so 20 million net spend down, not a bad window for him. If you look at the list of players there, the only real success stories you could say is potentially Calvert-Lewin and maybe Idrissa Gana Gueye. 17-18, big season now. However, they again had a certain man by the name of Romelu Lukaku that was sold for £70+ million. Ross Barkley also went in January, and Deulofeu also went for upwards of 10 million each. They brought in a lot of money. However, fair to say again, they spent a lot of money. £180 million was spent in that one season of 17-18, and they brought in a lot of players around the age of 23 to 28 who should be there ready for the here and now, and they go as follows. Gylfi Sigurdsson being the main man from Swansea for around £44 million. Now, with hindsight, it actually was a fantastic piece of business, other than the fact that it could be a nonce now, but this isn't the type of video for that. In that same same window. Michael Keane for around £25 million. Looking back, not the best piece of business. Jordan Pickford, also £25 million. Quite a decent piece of business. Klassen for £24 million. Not the greatest either. Theo Walcott from Arsenal, about 20 mil. Again, not the best either, really. Genk Tosun, £20 million. Again, not the best either. Vlasic for about 8 million. Onyekuru for about 7. Sandro Ramirez for 5. And also Rooney on a free transfer. When you look at this list of players, 2 of them is really a success, with maybe 3 for an account Michael Keane. And keep in mind, they lost Ross Barkley and also Lukaku in this window, and they replaced him with Sandro Ramirez and Vlasic. That year in 8th place, with Rooney being the top goal scorer with 10 goals, with 3 different managers of Sam Allardyce, Ronald Koeman, and also David Unsworth. 18-19, the Marco Silva era, a young up-and-coming Portuguese manager that has got something to prove. And 8th place in the summer, again spending big. £88 million spent, and it was on a certain Brazilian that you may have heard of called Richarlison. In that window, brought in Yerry Mina, Lucas Digne, Kurt Zuma, Andre Gomez, Bernard, and with hindsight, looking at these deals, it actually looked like a pretty good window. The next window, they spent big yet again, over 100 million on players like Alex Iwobi from Arsenal, Moise Kean, a young up-and-coming Italian talent from Juventus, Andre Gomez from Barcelona on a permanent, and also Gabamin, a young CDM talent from the Bundesliga, Fabian Delph for some great versatility, and it's looking like they are building a decent team. They sold a few players for decent money, like Gonagay for around £28 million, Vlasic, Lookman, Onyekuru, and in that same season, one man by the name of Carlo Ancelotti, yeah, he came in. Marco Silva got sacked halfway through the year by having Everton in the bottom 3 by Christmas, and with the man of Carlo Ancelotti coming in, stabilised the club to being a okay 12th place, ready to move for next season. And did they move? James Rodriguez, Doucouré, Allen, Ben Godfrey from Norwich, and he brought in absolutely no money in that window, spending yet again another £65 million. As I said at the start of the video, was 2nd place at Christmas. The team is building. They've got some great talents coming in. Calvert-Lewin is stepping up. We've got Richarlison. James Rodriguez balling out for about a few games. James Rodriguez starting off the season fantastic, and then kind of just never playing ever again. Just when they thought they were getting somewhere, Carlo Ancelotti having them top 4 at Christmas, and then it all slowly came downhill for the second half of 2021. Moshiri also had another plan. Alongside spending £500 million on the club, he's also going further with building a brand new stadium. Everton Stadium at the Bramley Moor Dock, that has been in process since midway through 2021 and should be opening for the 2024 season. Everything that I've said up to this point kind of sounds like, you know, he's not that bad of an owner. It sounds like it because he's put a lot of money into the club and he's even investing into their future. Their recruitment has been a shambles for the last 2 seasons. Despite spending money, they've completely got them wrong in each area. Their spending in the early seasons has caught up with them, that they haven't spent anywhere near as much as they have in previous years. This year, their main signing being Onana for £30 million, but then behind that, Dwight McNeil for 15, Neil Maupay for 9, James Garner, who's barely even played, for about 8. The main issue is that the majority of the transfers that they brought in has not sold for any value whatsoever. For example, in this window, yes, they sold Richarlison for about 50 mil. However, Allen went on a free. Genk Tosun, who brought in for 20 million, went out on a free. Andre Gomez going out on a loan. Gabarmin, who was brought in for both that 20 million, also going out on a loan. The players they brought in simply were not good enough or had real unfortunate situations, like Andre Gomez, who I thought was a great player, of course got injured. The managerial choices, of course, Ronald Koeman being an interesting one. Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez. Imagine Everton bringing in Rafa Benitez and thinking that that's going to work out. And now it is Frank Lampard, who is a manager with some potential, however, may not be exactly ready for the here and now to take Everton to where they need to be. Questions being asked left and right, and the main issue is really the recruitment. Their managers has been poor, their players have been poor, they spent a lot of money, and when it's not worked out, they simply cannot recuperate that money. When you look at most of their signings, they all seem to be for the here and now in that season, and not really looking into the long term, and most importantly, the long term sales of those players. For example, when you look at the players that he brought in, realistically, only 2 has been sold for more than what they were actually bought for, which is of course Richarlison and Lucas Digne. Like spending 20 million on a 28-year-old Theo Walcott, looking back on it, kind of makes no sense. Tell me your thoughts on Everton and where do you stand by them? Realistically, the ownership, people will point a finger out. It's not due to money, but it's due to a lack of long-term planning. Spending way too much money on players who have already reached their peak of their careers and are looking for one final payday on big wages, and that is a situation with a lot of their team. When I look at their team now, the main obvious problem is the lack of goals, and the fact that when I look at the team and who he brought in, Dwight McNeil, for example, is a creative player. He's not exactly a finisher, and that's not what his real role should be. Same thing goes for Demarai Gray. Same thing goes for Gordon. Even when I'm recording this, Everton just drew away to Man City, which, if anything, is the most Everton thing I've ever seen, because they can go on and get a result at Man City, but then lose at home to the likes of Wolves and to the likes of Bournemouth. They need a goal scorer, because Calvert-Lewin is not a professional footballer at this stage, and Maupay, again, he's not a clinical striker, so they need a goal scorer drastically in this window, and again, it may require more money, and Evertonians especially do not trust their board to get it right. Will Everton go down? Where do you think they'll be next year? Do you think them maybe going down could be beneficial for them for the future? The way that I see it, if they do go down, and especially with their new stadium, it could be a real big problem. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys another time for another video, and peace out.